I asked Tara on really just to share the shamanic view of well-being, because well-being is just, it's holistic. It covers so many different levels, and there's no one right approach. And I love that here in the group we can share, and just like, if there's if you have any questions, Tara's going to give you an overview and her opinion, but if you have any questions, ask them. Yeah, make sure you ask, because this is your grant. Okay, this is all about you guys and what you can get from it and your well-being. Okay, so Tara, why don't you start and just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this spot, this place now with shamanism.
Yeah. Well, I've been working in the field of health and wellness for over 20 years now. Yeah. I've worked in a health food shop in Roscommon, the Tatty Hoker, for more than 20 years. And I also studied to become a healthcare assistant and then a shamanic practitioner. So I suppose, I've all the angles, if you like. Just, it wasn't deliberate, just over time.
You've evolved. No, more than the rest of us. You've just you evolved into it. Yeah. And the Tatty Hoker is fabulous, for the people who don't know, that's a really good, I mean, how long has that lady been there, the Tatty Hoker? That's been there.
It's more than 20 years, yeah. I'm there nearly as long as the shop is there. It's a bit over 20 years, yeah. And my boss, Maureen, she was 84 in December. She's still working full time. And she commutes to work from Loughlin to Roscommon, which is a bit of a spin. And she's brilliant. She's a force of nature. She really is, yeah. So we all know to some extent, if we were all asked to list what we need to be doing for our own well-being, we know the basics. We know kind of diet and food lifestyle, exercise, all those kind of things. But I suppose knowing the things we should be doing and doing them are kind of two different things, So for food, my approach is always, sometimes people will say, what do you think about veganism, or what do you think about, this, that, or the other, whatever. Yeah. My approach is just eat real food. I've even seen that abbreviated, JER, just eat real food. Yeah. I think if you eat food as unprocessed as possible, you can't go too far wrong. That's what we've eaten for so long, and there aren't as many surprises with it, and it's what our bodies are used to and have evolved to digest.
Yes.
I think people can have a lot of trouble with their digestion, and unfortunately, maybe, these days you can kind of get a pill for everything. So you can get something for your digestion, you can get a prescription or whatever, and it'll fix your digestion. But sometimes I think it's overriding those messages that our body is sending us. I actually heard a friend lately say, I'd love an ice cream, but I didn't bring my prescription with me, so I can't. And I was actually saying, that's your body saying maybe we're not able to deal with ice cream, So I suppose it's, coming back to our bodies. I think for a while we gave a lot of that power away. And maybe it seemed like a good thing, but I think our bodies know.
To say somebody who didn't know what that expression meant, how would I come back to my body? What would that look like?
Well, for example, as I said, somebody that's taken a prescription and notices when they haven't taken the prescription that, now I can't eat this, and now I can't eat that. Well, like I said, that's your body giving you those messages. And I made the suggestion, well, maybe if you just kind of ride with that for a while and just maybe, see what else your body is saying it can eat or not eat. Rather than rushing to cover up symptoms all the time. And, now I know it can be easier said than done. Something I love to do is to consciously come back to myself, come home to myself. And it's simply, sometimes I think if we feel anxious, or we feel, even myself, if I feel anxious about something and I notice it and I think, right, well, where's my energy? Where's my awareness? And for me, it often can be out here. Or it can be out in front of us, or it can be up here or whatever. And that could sound very out there, but literally. But sometimes I think if you're feeling anxious, literally stop and think, oh, where are my thoughts? Where's, you know, and you can find you're out of yourself. So when I notice that, I take a breath and I sort of consciously bring myself back inside my own face, inside my own head, and I'm consciously looking out through my own eyes. Literally back in my body. We spend more time out of our bodies than we realize. I think if you start to notice that. And generally, as I said, anytime we're feeling kind of a negative sort of like that, anxiety or worry or whatever, if you stop and look for your awareness, usually it's out, it's kind of ahead of you, or it's you know, you're not in your body. So, and then when I get in behind my face, I'm looking out through my own eyes. It's nice even sometimes to drop down into the heart and kind of look at the world from there, and be inside your body looking out and receptive, you know, your gaze is open, you're receptive to all. But it's just a nice practice. It's a nice way to start the day, because if you're in your body, it'll tell you how you're doing. Like I said, you'll get those signals that I'm not feeling comfortable in this situation. I don't feel comfortable around that person. That food doesn't agree with me. It just those little signals, yeah. So it's a simple little hack, but it can make a big difference, you know, in how you're feeling in the world, in your own confidence, and just, yeah, it's something I like to do in the morning. It takes seconds, and it can be nice to even to offer up a little prayer, ask assistance from whoever, you know. Science has shown now that prayer works. So whether you want to pray to God, whether you want to ask your angels to be with you, if help from spirit, from the universe, again, it takes seconds, but there's a feeling to that. You just feel more secure in yourself, in your day, when you do that. So all those little things work. If you think in terms of energy and life force and that, the life force of fresh food is just, it's there, and it's what we need. And apparently, you know, when things are measured in frequency, so many hertz, you'd hear of healing frequency music, and it's different hertz. Apparently, the frequency, the hertz of canned and processed food is 0. It's nothing. It's dead. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very handy. But when you think, you know, that of the energy and the life force that's in it, it's kind of not really, you know. So yeah, just to be aware of that and think about that.
How do you feel about, if we think about our ancestors, they would have gone through periods where they had no meat, and then they'd have some, and then they'd have none for months again, like, because it would depend on whether they were hunting or not, wouldn't it? Or what the weather was like as to what animals were available.
Yeah, yeah. From it would appear that, you know, for hunters, meat doesn't give itself up all that easily if you have to hunt it down, you know. So I would imagine, or you know, it's generally supposed that meat would be something that they might have got to feast on kind of now and again, maybe once a week, or maybe, you know, they wouldn't have been having it. Our ancestors wouldn't have been eating meat 3 times a day, or possibly even every day, you know. So it would have been something they would have got, as I said, now and again, shared it out among the tribe. Everybody would have some, what I would suspect the bulk of their diet came from, you know, berries, nuts, seeds, kind of veg, fruit, whatever they could find and pick in that. Yeah. So again, fresh food. I do like to make some attempt to clean up the water. I think even one of those little filter jugs, I you know, just to make some attempt, because sometimes when you run the tap, the smell even of the chlorine and the smell, I like to filter it. So I use a reverse osmosis, and they do say that it strips the water of its minerals and that, you know, but I like to take then a multivitamin mineral as well as that. So I'm kind of happy, and the water tastes better, and it's easier to drink. I don't find it easy to drink water. I don't know, is it because it's so cold, especially this time of year? But I'm a great tea drinker. I like my green tea. Yeah. So I drink green tea on a loop. I like my green tea. So I think if you can get it in, you know, the water, if you find it hard to drink water, kind of whatever helps, you know. So like a slice of lemon you know, that whatever helps really. But yeah, even the green tea, I like my organic green tea, just to get the fluids in. Yeah, and I like it to be on clean water.
Yeah, I know just from my experience of when I did the colon hydrotherapy now years ago, and the water, I used to double filter the water, and I used to have the different micron filters that it ran through before it was introduced into the body. And now, if somebody isn't filtering your water, it was seriously, when you took out the filters, it was like chocolate. It was really dark and sludgy. You would be amazed at the amount of grime that's in the water. The amount of stuff that's in the water is just. And when there was roadworks, if there was any sort of workmen out on the street or the next street along, the vibration and all, it seemed to lift up more sediment. And the filters would block much faster.
Yeah, the same with my filter. It'd just be filthy after a year. And every now and again, you know, you'll see people get a boil water notice from the council or whatever, you know. But a lot of the time, by the time you've seen it, you've drank it anyway. Now, I suppose it'll depend on the filter how well it'll deal with that. But I like to make an attempt anyway, to filter the water. So exercise then, I'm almost loath to call it exercise, because straight away when we call it exercise, it's like, oh, it's punishment. It's a chore. It's something else on the never-ending to-do list. I prefer to call it movement, because movement is life. It's what we were made to do. It's what we're put here to do. If you look at animals or children who don't know the word exercise, they love to move. They don't want to stop moving. So I prefer to call it movement. And I think rather than punishing ourselves, you know, doing the killing a scully walk, just I love a nice walk in the woods or in nature, just a nice outdoor walk. I think it's really important to get outdoors every day, and get out into the sunshine, let it on our faces without the glasses, without, you know, certainly this time of year, you know, you need all of it that you can get. I think we know the time of year when we're going to burn, you know, when we might need a big hat or more protection, but let the sun on your skin and breathe the fresh air and ground. I'm big into ground, and I'm always barefoot at home. If you've ever heard of the Schumann resonance, it's the earth has its own kind of frequency, heartbeat, if you like, and it vibrates at this particular frequency. Now I can't tell you what the number is.
Yeah, I know.
But it's animals and plants, and we have all evolved with that natural frequency, energy, heartbeat of the earth, and it's very good for us. It's very beneficial for us, and if we're closed off from that, we don't do so well. And we all have lovely houses now with lovely concrete floors under us, and particularly footwear. You know, since the rubber sole came on the shoe, we're cut off from that natural healing frequency from the earth, and it is very healing and very grounding. But you know, when the weather allows, it's lovely in the morning, even just go outside, stand barefoot for a few minutes on the grass.
Yes.
While you're doing that, getting back into your body thing, it can be a great start to the day. You know, but even at home, it's, you know, I wear socks now this time of the year. It's too cold to be actually barefoot, but it definitely helps. And when you get used to doing it, I hate having shoes on now at home. I dying to take them off when I get in. And again, kids, if you watch them, they love to kick off their shoes. They don't want to be in shoes if they can. So, so it just keeps us in contact with the earth.
But even gone out into the garden and working with plants, but it struck me, you know, during COVID, and so many people were doing their plants, like everybody, like some people got really into in the indoor plants, and I think part of that was the security, the sense we got of connecting with another living thing, like plants and working with soil. I think that was grounding. And anchor, people were able to anchor in, because I saw a lot of people, like I would have a lot of plants anyway, but a lot more people were bringing plants, bringing the outdoors in, I think, for that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, we are nature, we're part of nature. You know, it's easy to to think in terms of, oh, I'm going to get out into nature, but like we are nature, we're part of that. So it's like reconnecting with a part of yourself. And if you're cut off from nature for too long, again, you feel that boost. So yeah, as I said, we get so much from it, just from walking, in a lovely natural place rather than at the side of a road, walking with the trees, or it becomes a pleasure, it becomes something you look forward to doing, and so good for us. And a bit of headspace, and leave the phone off if at all possible, or on silent or whatever, and just that bit of headspace for a while.
Just to connect.
Yeah. Like, again, meditation is something that we can feel we have to grapple with. We all know meditation is great for us. We should be doing it every day. And it is very good for us. But again, it can be as simple as taking a mindful walk in nature, with the phone off. And if you find yourself thinking about the shopping list or what you have to do when you get back or whatever, again, just bring your focus back to hear the ground under your feet, the what's around you. It can make meditation just a pleasure, something. So you can get your exercise and your meditation all in one go there.
Do you know when all the trees, when it was really, really cold and the trees were frozen and it had just started to, in the middle of the day, it starts to melt. And as I was walking through, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, there were big fat droplets coming down off the tree and they were splatting on the ground, and it was a different sound. It was remarkable, and it took me a few moments to kind of figure out what was going on. But it was lovely. Like, that's just that moment of paying attention and listening to nature. It was just a lovely little experience.
Yeah.
And it only takes a few moments to appreciate and connect like that.
Yeah, and it does us so much good. You'd be set up for the day if you, without your lunch break, even a few minutes outside, and the sun doesn't have to be shining. Just put on. Was it Billy Connolly said, get yourself a sexy raincoat.
Yes, from like a shaman point of view, how do you relate to light? Is there something about the cycles that you can share with us?
Yeah. Well, in the shorter term, I suppose, on a day-to-day basis, it can really help, again, that connection with nature and with our own natural cycles. So to get in touch with our circadian rhythm, which means getting up with the light and going to bed and going to sleep with the light. And we have got out of that habit now because, of course, we have our artificial light inside, and we have so much entertainment now. Compared to years ago when the telly kind of naturally went off itself at a reasonable sort of time, you had to give up and go to bed. But like there's just 24/7 entertainment now, isn't there? And it can be tempting to stay up too late. But if this time of year, even if you leave the curtains open so that the light naturally wakes you, and get up with the light, you'll be making the most of the light, and then sleeping that bit earlier, and again kind of getting away from the artificial light, certainly for an hour or so before bedtime. Candlelight in the evening can be lovely, a nice way to wind down. And getting off the screens. And just we know the blue light from the screens keeps us awake, but again, just that thing of the mindless scrolling. How many times have we, I really should go to bed, but you find yourself, I think when you're tired, you nearly do it more, the mindless scrolling.
Yes, it's like a friend of mine calls it chewing gum for the brain.
Exactly.
Kind of going and going. I've got a thing on my phone. I don't know if anybody else. Well, you obviously do. Everybody must have it. It's like you put it on a timer, and I put my phone on bedtime. So say from 9 o'clock it goes grayscale, and when your phone is grey, there's no attractiveness in it. You don't like there's little to be taken from it, so it even discourages you from it. But I have it on silent then, so don't bother trying to contact me after 9 because I'll never hear it. It's like the phone is just gone. And I think that's an important, like you're saying, to just let that artificial life, the digital life, kind of slip into the background. But
and all day we could do it, doing a bit more of that in general, because again we have I think the digital life is sold to us as being more connected, and we're all more connected. But you know, if you'll notice, we're all so much less connected than we were even 10 years ago. It's there's nothing like getting out there and talking to people in person and seeing your friends in person. It can be too easy to get into this thing of, you know, sending these WhatsApp kind of voice chats. You know, it's nice to make an effort to go and keep that connection going as well, because that's an important connection that we need, is our connection with each other, and with our tribe. You know, your friends and your family.
Yes.
Make that effort to get out, yeah, and see them in person. And another thought about the light, and the cycles and the seasons, is that in winter, when it's dark, I think our natural rhythm again is to slow down and go within. And I saw a lovely phrase for it lately called wintering. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, and if you see the animals, like I have a cat, and if I just look at the cat, she actually gets fat over winter because she just wants to be in and she wants to lie around, and she's just, yeah. Whereas, you know, once springtime or summer, she's gone, you won't see her, she loses her weight naturally. So, whereas I suppose life is set up for most of us now that we sort of have the same schedule all year round. We kind of have to you have to put in the hours, and you know. But I think as much as possible, if we can just even be conscious that our bodies want to slow down a bit, yes, and eat warm foods, you know, nice like spice stews, kind of soups, that kind of thing. Not be trying to beat ourselves up with salads in January when it's not the season for it, you know.
It's just not natural.
It's not. It's not. And you know that new year, new you thing that starts on the 1st of January, really the season is wrong for it. In January, we're still all in winter mode and we're wrecked. You know, it's been a long year and Christmas can be so busy and so demanding. And just come January, people are wrecked.
Yeah.
So I like to take January easy, yeah. And
well, what about, do you know, astrology, like Aries is the first month really of that year, and that's April, isn't it?
Oh wow, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So it's a bit farther on, but still, I think it is interesting when you think about it, because they're allowing the winter to pass.
Yeah, yeah. The Gregorian calendar came in relatively recently in you know, human terms. As the last couple of 100 years, again, don't ask me when, but you know, before that, the year started later. I know, don't ask me when, but it would have been definitely at least kind of from springtime on, early February on, and you'd feel that yourself in your own body. I noticed it's literally this week is the last few days, the first time I've started to feel this year. I feel a bit of energy. I feel a bit of motivation. I want to do something. I did loads today, and I've done nothing for ages. I've been just trying to keep warm and, you know, just not in the humor. Yeah. I do what I have to do, of course, you know, but other than that, I haven't been in the form but today I felt like taking things apart and, yeah, you know, so again, we feel it in ourselves, that more intuitive when it's time to get going again. Yeah. But nice to be easy on ourselves. I was talking to a lady in the shop actually the other day, and she said, she said she was fed up because she said, I've done nothing. I've been doing nothing the last few weeks. And I said, well, look, it's winter, you know, our bodies don't want to be doing anything over the winter. So, yeah, if we could all just ease up on ourselves, I suppose. And yeah, spring is just so much easier. You want to get going in spring.
Yes. No, that's good advice. I would agree in that as well. I kind of, you know, the 21st, the shortest day of the year, I always feel personally it's at least 2 to 3 weeks after that. It's only when you start to see the stretch that I start to brighten up. And I haven't found it yet. I honestly know I haven't noticed it yet. So I'm kind of with you on that, because it hasn't lifted.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I can wait.
Yeah.
You know.
Again, yeah, we're all different, and we all know in ourselves, you know. As I said, for me, it was kind of just this week. This is the first week, but it's been so cold and everything.
When I was training, and there was a guy called Barry Murray, and he had a a program called Connected Athlete, and he was very much into grounding. But he would say, listen, get up and spend an hour, if you could, outdoors, or just do your run an hour in the daylight. Get your sunrise, and then eat. Look at your phone, do the things. But literally, he wouldn't have us communicate or anything. It's just literally get up and connect with nature, get the light, because all for that reason of getting your body into a natural rhythm, you know.
Yeah, again, that's your circadian rhythm. Yeah. And I read a book by is he a chef? Is it Nigel Slater? It was a cookbook, but he's a storyteller. He doesn't just give you the recipe, he tells you the story behind it. But something he had written in his book really stuck with me. I thought that's a lovely idea and so simple. He said, first thing in the morning, he wakes up, he opens his eyes, he gets out in the garden. Every day of the year, he said, it doesn't matter what the weather, he said, just that getting out into the garden, that's how he finds out what the weather is, you know, rather than looking for it on the phone. He said, I put on my coat, and he said, I put on my boots and I scrunch through the snow if there's snow, and that's the way he talks, you know. And he said, I have a walk around my garden and I look at what plants are out and what plants are coming out, and he looks at the weather, and I thought, what a lovely way to connect with the day and with the seasons and with the morning, the light, as you said. I thought it was a lovely idea. And, you know, it only has to take a minute, but what a lovely start to the day, yeah.
Because there are those sort of routines and rituals that we've kind of forgotten about. And for me, that's kind of, I don't know if I'm right or not, but for me, that's kind of like the shaman sort of aspect as well, the connection with nature, but having the ritual. And it's not even a ceremony, but even to light a candle. For me, when I light a candle, you're inviting the angels in. It's for me, it's like that welcoming spirit. I have my little connections that I make. But I love the routine, and like, even, you know, we use affirmations, and you can do them very clinically. You can read your book and do your affirmations, but why not do your affirmation when you're in the garden connecting with nature and have your positive, you know. We have disconnected in so many different ways. And I think if we bring our eating habits, our sleeping habits, our the way our thinking, like you're saying, get back into the body and how we live, if we can kind of work kind of in that routine, that kind of more connected routine with our bodies and with our cycles, I think we'd be a lot happier. Absolutely. Because it's far more intuitive, and I think for me, it slows down time. That's how I slow down. When I'm rushed and I'm really stressed out, I slow down time by being mindful, by being conscious.
Absolutely. And those little moments are what make up our lives. You know, the big moments, they're great, but they're just here and there, really. But what makes up our lives is the school run and washing the dishes and even sitting in front of the fire in the evening. And if we can just do it mindfully and enjoy it, even those little moments, then you're enjoying your life, because it goes by so quickly. There's no point waiting for big moments, you know.
The consistency of those it's that ebb of the consistency of those moments, even if they're kind of low key, at least, you know, they're consistently there. And I think it kind of raises your spirit to have those moments.
It can, yeah. And it is, when I think of that, I remember, we'll say, my aunt or my grandmother, you know, that my aunt would have been, you know, closer to my grandmother's age. So women of that generation, and I remember being with them in their kitchen, and you could hear the clock ticking, and they moved slowly, and everything they did so consciously. And it was lovely to talk to them because you had their full attention. You know, like,
very good point.
You know, they would sit and they would be like this. You had their full attention. And if they buttered bread, they just did it so mindful. I don't know. I don't think it was just the women in my family. I think it was just a different time. And that's what we've kind of lost. We're rushing, and it's a bit of a badge of honor how busy we are and how much we have to do today. But I think just to slow down and enjoy all the little moments in the day.
Well, I think what you just said there was interesting as well. You know, even how you butter bread and the food that you eat. Would I would imagine if I paid that kind of attention to food, I'd probably eat a lot less of it.
Of course we would. Yeah, yeah. And again, that generation, they ate, you know, when you think about what they ate, like by today's standards, we might go, oh, wow, you know, they ate the fat on the meat. They ate, they did, my grandmother made apple tarts and plenty of sugar on the top. And, you know, they ate really well, but they weren't heavy. Now, they were what you'd call pleasantly plump. They were nicely covered, but they were in no way, nowhere close to obese, you know, nowhere close to heavy. They were quite neat people, you know, by today's standards. And they ate plenty and they ate what they liked. But, and again, I think it's the real food. You know, I think if you make an apple tart yourself and you put the work into it and you see how much sugar goes into it, you know, you'll naturally then kind of, you're not going to overindulge in it. Or the same with a few scones or whatever. And that's not something I'm doing, but it's something I'm thinking I'd like to do, is start making my own. You know, I do like a treat in the evening. I'd like to make my own, just have that awareness as well of what's in it. And
yes, absolutely. No, I will cook a lot and I bake, but because I love it, it's just something I enjoy doing. But recently I used unrefined coconut sugar, instead of white sugar, instead of like proper caster sugar. And oh my Lord, it just was so much lighter. You could taste the difference. Like I did a Madeira cake and I did a couple of different things, scones I think as well. But they just I noticed the sugar not being there. I still got the lightness, I still got the sweetness, but even that shifted the texture and the sweetness of what I had baked. So it's little things like that as well, like the less, like you were saying with the processed food, the less processed ingredients as well that we're using.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely makes a difference.
And there's room to adjust, because I've baked things in the past and thought, how much sugar? No, like I'm not, as I said, I'm not the sugar police. I love something sweet. But you sometimes, I said, when you see a recipe, you're like, really, that much? And I've put in half of it. But at least, again, there's that awareness and there's that choice. Yes. There is a choice to kind of, right, I can do less of this or not, you know.
Yes.
And another aspect of health and well-being that I was thinking of, it's one that sometimes we don't think of, and it's such a massive one for quality of life. And it's, in shamanism, one of the things we do is soul retrieval. Okay. And the idea is that sometimes if you have a major negative event, you know, like a traffic accident, a betrayal, you know, it's one of the major horrible things that can happen to you. You can have what's known as soul loss. Yeah. And it's where literally your soul kind of can know that this thing is coming, and it gets out of the way to spare you some of that. And we can lose kind of little pieces of ourselves here and there in a smaller way in everyday life. You know, when we betray ourselves in little ways, when we say yes, when we want to say no, when we go to, you know, work every day in a job that we loathe. You know, life is too short to betray ourselves. And even all those little betrayals, as I said, all those little pieces of yourself that you lose, they build up over time, and you can end up losing a big chunk of yourself. And again, it might sound like an abstract kind of concept, but it's there in our language. You know, we talk in terms of, you know, I wasn't fully myself after that. I was never fully the same. You know, we feel it, and we know. And like I said, it's just to be aware. Again, it's the small moments in everyday life that makes up our life. So yes, to be aware of that,
that is very interesting, because even if when you said that, I was thinking, the way somebody might say, I was in bits after it.
Yeah.
Do you know, I was in bits, or I was
beside myself. I was beside myself.
Just that you're literally outside of your body.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, we would talk about this in terms of major events. But, you know, sometimes we can, as I said, betray ourselves on a regular basis, you know, maybe on a daily basis, if you're continually doing something you hate, or as I said, going to a job that you really hate, life is too short. And I know we all have to pay the bills, but you know, start thinking in terms of looking for a job that you can live with, that you know that you like, or that you can be yourself. Even situations, people, you know, we can get into the habit of spending time around people that maybe aren't doing us any good, that we're just, again, it's just start listening to the body will tell you, you know, about the situations and the people that maybe aren't so positive for us. And we can't always not spend time with them, depending on who they are, but just, again, that awareness, and yeah, just to work around that.
Because you can be with somebody, or you can be in a work situation with somebody that you get so used to them being negative that you don't realize how much that's impacting you. I worked with a girl receptionist once, and she had very heavy energy, but she used to come in and I'd say good morning, and she'd go, "Oh, what's good about it?" I said, "Oh dear." And she'd sit down, and she'd be 9. She wouldn't start until 9 o'clock. Like, if God forbid she came in early, but she'd sit down at 9, and she'd say, and she'd work out how many hours or how much time was left to lunchtime. And we used to laugh in the beginning, but after a while it was like, oh God. And she was just so heavy all the time. Like, she was unhappy.
Yeah. And even for her own sake, that I think we all know now about the law of attraction and all that idea. And again, that has been there in shamanism 40, 50,000 years. That awareness that everything is energy. And everything then is, we're all connected. Everything in the universe, it's this great big web of energy. We're all connected. And we really can influence, you know, it sounds so out there, but we really can influence our day with our outlook, and our life with our outlook. So it's
explain that a little bit more, because a lot of people, I think, I'm glad you said that, because it is an abstract thing. The universal laws are brilliant, but as you said, they've been there for as long as the universe has. And like, people seem to think sometimes that law of attraction is new. It's not at all, and it's only a tiny part and one of many. So would you mind talking through that just a little bit when you mention that, just so people understand that is actually...
Yeah. Well, from the shamanic perspective, what shamans believed and knew was that everything is energy. As Albert Einstein said, you know, more recent times, everything is energy, everything is frequency. And then everything is contained within this web of energy. Everything we know, everything in the universe is contained within this web of energy. And you can call that container then God, or the universe, or source, or whatever you want to call it. But across all time and across all peoples, everybody kind of has that known that there is, you know, some kind of grander, like I said, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it. So we're all held within this web of energy, and within that web we're all connected, and we're all equal. We're no less than the sun, as they say, no greater than the insects. We're all equal parts of this web of energy. You know, we're no higher than the animals. So we're all connected. And what, again, if you pull on one end of that web, you know, it's going to have an effect somewhere else. And quantum physics and quantum science is only catching up now with what those people knew 40, 50,000 years ago. That, you know, the observer effect, that an article responds to the observer, how the observer is expecting it to. Or the idea of different locations, you know, to be able to travel to a different location, to be able to be in 2 locations at once. So some of these are very kind of, you know, hard for us to get our heads around, but like I said, they've been there for, you know, the ancients knew about all these things that quantum science is only sort of discovering now. But it's helpful when we realize that we're connected to everything and everyone else. So our actions do have results for good and for bad, and again, and our thoughts even have results, our thoughts. And I know you do some, you know, work on manifesting and the law of attraction and that, but I think we don't even have to. I got a great book a while back. I think it's called E equals MC squared. It's a small little book. It wasn't expensive. And I think it was a set of 10 experiments for yourself. If you don't believe in the law of attraction, 10 little experiments. And they just, like, it was wow. Yeah, you know, it works. It absolutely works. So we have to be aware of that for good and for not so good, that our thoughts are creating our reality.
That we could do our affirmations, we can do all the positive stuff, but then, like you were saying, you go to work or whatever, or you meet different people, and then if you slip back into the mindset of, say, begrudgery or irritation or anger or dissatisfaction, all that good that you've done, like with the oneness, like it brings down your frequency. Just because you did your mindset in the morning doesn't mean that you're on the right frequency all day long, and those thoughts will drop you. And the food you eat will drop your frequency, and even the language, like language has sound, and sound affects your body. And the words you choose, that, like, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's everything within our lives.
It is, yeah. And again, it doesn't matter if you're eating the right diet and you're doing the right exercise and all that. It's very, very difficult to be well if you're then going to a job that you hate, or you're spending a lot of time around people that drain you or just don't suit you. You know, it's wellness is about more than just what we consume. What we consume is important, you know, for good and for ill. We have to be aware of what we're consuming from the television and from the radio as well too. And protect ourselves from some of a lot of the negativity that's there, because again, our subconscious takes everything sort of literally. And if we see war and kind of dreadful things happening on the screen, I think your subconscious feels this is happening here in our village. You know, so we feel the stress of it, and we know we feel the stress of it. I would agree. So of course we want to be aware of what's going on in the world. You know, personally, I get my news kind of from, I turn on the laptop and I get the headlines. I know what's happening, but I don't dive too far into it, because you can really pull yourself down with stuff that you can't, you know, do a whole lot of. It's better, I think, to give your focus and your attention onto what you can help, you know, and help locally, help you know, help your family, help your friends, help your, you know, the stuff that you can see and that you can. And by all means, you know, if you want to send money, then to help. But we can get very bogged down if we're not careful. And in the same way, then we can lift our energy and lift our frequency with, you know, sometimes simple things. It can be lovely if you can get energy work done. If you can, you know, I like to get some acupuncture sometimes. I feel it really brings up my energy. You know, whatever kind of body work you're into yourself, it can be brilliant if you can. But even if you can't, you know, sometimes even simple things, you can get frequency music there free on YouTube. Just look up frequency music, and there's this kind of something for everything. There's music for love, for courage, for, you know, whatever. It's free. And of course, you know what, I love my essential oils. Some of them are very high frequency. Rose essential oil, I think, is the highest frequency of all the oils. It's 300 and something hertz compared to, you know, it's really, really high. So it's
and that's hard. That's heart centered. That's the heart chakra, isn't it? I mean, that's the ultimate. And you know, with Mother Mary as well, her energy, she's very connected with Rose as well. I've a technique I have in angelic core healing, where I bring in Mother Mary energy, and I fill the room with, it's like a shower of pink roses, where I fill the room full of those. Each rose then is her energy, and I fill the whole room full of it. And sometimes if you can do it with the client there, or what I've played with before is I fill the room up with a certain energy, and I leave the door closed, and I fill it up consciously. And then when you walk in, you actually, it's like the essential oils, you'll actually feel the energy because you fill the room. And that's something you can do in your home, you know, like, would you explain, even about using something like sage or that, just to clear if you're not happy, if you're in the home, say there's ups and downs, people are having a little bit of agitation, how to clear the home a little bit maybe, like that, and fill the house with a real kind of more positive sort of vibe.
Yeah. And I suppose to some people that could sound like a very woo concept, the idea of energy, the energy in a room. But we've all experienced it. We've all, you know that feeling when you walk into a room where there's been a row or where there's an issue, you go in and you're like, I feel it. What is that? So you can feel energy or the energy kind of in. We'll say the energy in a house where there's small children is so different to the energy in an old person's house. You feel it, whether we all feel it. So sage is a great way. You can buy dried sage and light it, and it helps kind of to burn away negative energy and improve that's it, exactly. And I love the smell of it as well. So I do go around the house every now and again kind of with the sage myself. And another lovely thing to use, and it's a similar idea, is rose water. Even the Atlantic Aromatics do a little bottle of rose water. It's, I don't know, it's cheap. It's €5 or €6 at the most. It mightn't even be that. And just go around and spritz it. I did that today actually at home. And you have the lovely smell of the roses. It smells high vibe, and it lifts the energy. It really does. Yeah. Now, obviously, if there's something kind of really off with the energy in a place, in shamanism we do land healing, land clearing. If there's something really kind of off with the energy, waving a bit of sage won't be enough there. It would need kind of deeper work than that. But in general, just to kind of refresh the energy in your house, as you said, just after an argument or visitors that you were glad to see the back of or whatever, sage can really lift it. Or again, your essential oils, burn them in a burner. And again, and they're quite inexpensive. Again, and you enjoy it yourself, which lifts your own energy just because you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very pleasant and it's subtle on other people. Just even, if kids are grumpy or worried about something, that even just having, like, say, your lemongrass just to kind of clear any negativity. Or I have used oregano sometimes. It's a deeper one. I know you wouldn't. It's a very strong smelling one, but I've used it in my diffuser just to really clean. The atmosphere, and I think it's brilliant. Just really sometimes you need it.
It can, yeah. And again, or something that you put in a spritz bottle, it can be handy, it makes it easy, the spritz bottle, or spritz it over.
I think especially upstairs as well, if you do a quick little spritz before, like in the evening, like a little while before you go to bed as well, because it clears that mental energy in the bedroom as well, I think. Before we settle, because I think we expect a lot of our bodies and our minds.
Absolutely, yeah. It's, as I said, life has gotten very busy, very frantic, and I think we're even losing touch with the pace that it's meant to be at. Like I said, it's almost kind of a badge of honor now, like how busy I am today and how much I have to do, and like how little sleep I got and whatever. But as I said, if we think back to our grandmothers, and the pace they moved at, and life is different. I know life is different now, but it's just again that awareness that maybe we don't need to be running around at full pelt all the time, and not to be expecting ourselves to do that. So an early night can just be such a reset. It's and if you're not in the habit of doing it, going to bed at 10 o'clock, or work your time back, kind of. But an early night can make such a difference. I'm so much less able if I stay up kind of till 12, 1 o'clock, whatever. I'm so much less able the next day. So it's early bedtime. So it's one of those free fixes.
And when you say early, what time are you thinking of?
I would usually try and aim to go to bed at 10 o'clock. It kind of might end up 10:30. If I'm working in the morning, I definitely like to be in bed by 10 o'clock. Our organs, the Chinese medicine, or they tell you that our organs do their clearing from from 10 o'clock on. Is it the liver or the kidneys that does that does its work, and it's clearing from 10 o'clock on? It's one or the other. I'm not sure which. So ideally, we'd want to be asleep by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it better still even to be in bed earlier and aim to be asleep for 10 o'clock. But for me now, that is a bit too early. But just, yeah, to be mindful that, again, that's our body's rhythm. That's what our body would like.
Yeah.
It would like us to be asleep by 10 o'clock. So, yeah.
Honestly, I'm about a 9:30 to 10.
Yeah.
I start 9:30. I'm thinking, yeah, it's time to go up. Honestly, and I don't sleep brilliantly, so I think if I can, I love that. If I sleep well, that at the start, I don't mind so much waking up earlier.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and they say our ancestors slept with the light. So in the winter, that would mean, you know, being in bed for quite a long time. So when it got dark, apparently they went to bed and they slept for a few hours, and then they woke up during the night, and they would be awake during the night for a couple of hours. And that was, they got up and they did something. That was productive time. And during those times, we'll say a few hundred years ago or whatever, that might be your only bit of alone time, or your only bit of thinking time, you know, because the house was full of people. There was, you know, lots of people living in the house or whatever. So that couple of hours, or even for a couple kind of to connect, or so they would get up for their couple of hours that they woke up, and then they would go back to bed when they were tired again, and they would sleep again. And that's something a lot of people do naturally, and maybe kind of it annoys them, or they beat themselves up a bit about it. It's like, oh yeah, I go to bed and I sleep, but then I wake during the night. But it would appear that that's what we did for a long, long time. So yeah,
That's so interesting.
It's a nice idea. It'd be lovely to be able to do it, but yeah, it's a nice thought.
I might just try that, because I do get frustrated if I'm up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
rather than getting frustrated, yeah, do something. Now, again, nothing too kind of stimulating or whatever, you know, not the telly or whatever, but yeah, just kind of low light, do something. And it could be a bit of meditation time, or just the things that you don't have the peace and quiet for during the day.
but even just to stretch or read.
Bit of yoga, yeah, whatever. An extra couple hours in the day.
There you go. You have, yeah. I'll have to see. I'm going to test that out now.
Yeah,
actually, I like that idea.
Well, it's an easier way to think of it anyway, isn't it? You know, that this is, yeah.
Yes.
I'll do something productive, and then I'll have my second sleep. And as I said, you'd end up having a great night's sleep overall. So,
saying, just to wrap it up, I know it's that it's to tune into your body, and have a conscious sort of habit of connecting in the morning, bringing yourself back in. I might ask you to do that again in case people missed it in the middle, about bringing yourself back in. You were saying about being aware of the food we eat and the life force energy, about looking at natural cycles, our circadian rhythms, and kind of working with our body more, being aware of, say, where we work, like the energy, like you were saying that, what was you were saying about losing a piece of ourselves, just to be conscious of where and how you spend your energy, and how you receive nourishment from other people, that it's not just food, it's more energy, it's your interactions. And you were saying also about the web of life. It's like the law of oneness, where everything is connected, where there is nothing in isolation. So you could eat a fabulous salad all day long, but if you're kind of polluting yourself with, say, too much social media or aggression from other people, that, you know, it's at odds. So the whole thing is about balance, really.
Yeah. It is. It's a holistic thing, and just the energy of things. I suppose that's the shamanic perspective on it. Just the energy of things, and to be aware of that. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Did I see?
And would you just?
Yeah. Did I see a question coming up there?
Yeah. Really enjoyed. That's Carmel. Hello, Carmel. Really enjoyed the talk. Thanks, lady. You're very welcome. And it's a great, like I say, it's a conversation, but it's good to have conversations, and it's almost like what we're talking about. It's bringing things forward naturally, and letting the information evolve naturally, I think, is really, I'm glad you went that way.
Yeah. It's, as I said, it's just, I suppose, like I said, it's well-being is about so much more than just, you know, the first few things that we think of, you know.
Yes.
And of course, you know, I do like my supplements. I do add, you know, I try to eat well, but food, of course, doesn't have the same nutrients that it had years ago. So it's nice to supplement. And again, if you're eating well, but you're not digesting it because you're stressed or because you're on the run, or you know, again, just to take that time or to eat, give ourselves the time, you know. And like supplements can help if you're having, I know you mentioned, you know, in terms of digestion and that, you know, a probiotic can really help with the digestion, with the good bacteria.
Yes.
You can take fermented foods daily. You can get your good bacteria that way, as well. Yeah. Like things like miso, sauerkraut, the fermented foods. But you just have to be disciplined about it and do it every day. And sometimes that can be difficult. It's a nice idea. So kind of a capsule can just make life a bit easier. And our immunity lives in our gut. So it's, you know, it's a probiotic is a good thing to add kind of daily. Maybe a digestive enzyme, just, you know, because you did ask me kind of about digestion. A digestive enzyme, again, to help digest. You know, we're not so much what we eat as we are what we digest. So a digestive enzyme can really help. It can be relatively inexpensive, you know. And just and again, to take the time to sit down and eat our food and slow down and be mindful. Again, not just about what we're eating, but just what's happening around that. You know, as I said, are we rushed? Are we stressed? Are we eating with somebody who's draining? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, just to be aware of all the other stuff as well. It's because it's important. Yeah.
I think the key to it is just to be aware. And like you're saying, in the morning, if you pull yourself, kind of literally pull yourself together and connect with your body, connect with nature, and that is the best. That's the place to start. Start at center.
Yeah, and I love that phrase. Even pull yourself together. There it is. I said we use these things in language. You know, we're just we don't realize even what we're saying. But again, just to pull yourself together, just become aware of where your energy is. You know, as I said, stop and take that breath, and just even that to become mindful. Become aware of where your energy is. Is it out? Are you outside of yourself? Are you beside yourself? And literally come home, go back into your body.
How did you describe it? You said come back in and then come back inside your face and look. Well, explain that again, and then look out through your eyes.
I'm just trying to explain what I do, but what I do is as I said, if I feel my energy is outside myself, if I notice that I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling stressed or whatever, I think, where is my energy? And for me, usually it's here. It's out here in front of me. So I literally become kind of aware of coming back into myself, so that I'm inside my own face, inside my own head, looking out through my own eyes. Yeah. And it sounds like such a basic, but we're not always there. That's where, you know, we're not always there. And when I feel that I'm back inside my face, looking out through my eyes, then I try and drop down into my heart. Yeah. And I try to engage with the world from there, as I said, in you know, in a receptive way, that I'm, you know, I'm inside looking out. There's a certain protection even in that, from being inside looking out. I don't know if it makes sense, because it's kind of my thing, you know. But if you try,
it's lovely.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love the way you said that.
Yeah.
More
secure, more, it feels like it's literally, to me, it feels like coming home. I come home to myself. And then from that place, from once you're in your body, you're so much more aware of everything. As I said, you know, physical, energetic, you'll be surprised what you start picking up kind of in the air from that place. And you'll have more energy, you'll be leaking less energy, you'll be contained within yourself. So yeah, taking that time to come home.
I love that. And that's actually a lovely place to end. So I'm going to taking time to come home to yourself. I love that.
Yeah, so we do it before we go to bed tonight. See how it feels.
We will. Very well. Tara, thank you so much for joining us. And it's 21:21.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Thank you so
Fabulous.
much.
I've really
We'll
enjoyed
talk.
it, Yvelle. I've loved it.
Good. I am glad, and I really do appreciate you doing it with us. It's lovely.
No bother at all. It's been a pleasure. No bother. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye bye
Yvelle.
now.
Thank you.
Bye
Night,
bye.
night. Bye-bye.